Satu Dave, what's up, y'all? Hope y'all had a great week. So, limited amount of time that I have had here in the shop. I showed you this blade last week. I did a little more whittling on it. I actually talked to Mitch for a second, Mitch Bowling, and he was like, "Hey, you can take a flat grind, make it a hollow grind, make it a hollow grind with a convex, then redo the whole thing again." I was like, you know what? Why not? Let's just keep grinding on the same knife. So forgive some of the other stuff on it, but you see I'm getting a little bit better with the flat grinds. So this is flat ground now, a little bit rounded, a little convex at the ends because what I did before. But you can see grind lines are getting better. Plunge lines coming along, but not quite the same. This one's actually out of center. I don't know if you can tell one side's ground more than the other, but that's what happens when you are learning. So hey, I'll try to fix it in the end, but for right now, I'm just practicing on it, having fun with it. And I asked you guys last week if any of you guys had knives that you'd want to, send in, let me play with, do a little work on. Hopefully not mess up. Hopefully improve a little bit. And I gotta say, it's probably been a long time coming anyhow, but I gotta give a big shout out to CJ for Cyclotron. He's another YouTuber. Obviously, his channel is more motorcycle related, or all motorcycle related, I guess. But if you're all interested in motorcycles, it's definitely worth checking out. You've just by listening to him talk, you can tell he's a completely intelligent person. And he had made a knife. He's into knives as well, obviously. And he had made a knife a while back, and I think he said his wife calls it the coconut cracker because of the grind on it. But he made this knife a while back, and he said he just wasn't really happy with the grind. And he's like, I'll send it to you. Let you see what you can do. So thanks, CJ. Awesome, man. I can't thank you enough. He also made the sheath for it. The sheath turned out really nice too, and I think he even admitted that he thinks the sheath works probably better than the knife worked. But I think both great, man. I think he did a great job on both of them. I'm gonna see what I can do to improve the grind on the knife. Hopefully, give it back something that's a little more usable. I feel like at this point, I'm ready to kind of ease into some of that, like working on someone else's stuff and feeling like I ain't gonna completely mess it up. I'm not 100% comfortable with like plunge lines yet. I don't know if you can see the plunge lines in this. I don't know if anyone even cares, but they're not quite even. But it's all stuff I'm learning. But every time I turn that grinder on and do something, I learn something. So you got to kind of push yourself a little bit, right? So CJ, thanks, man. Truly appreciate it. And Mateo is the same way. Brother Mateo, he can't just send a knife, like I got a knife for you to grind. You got to throw some beef jerky and some sweets in there. Man, you're the man, Mateo. I really can't thank you enough. And he sent this little VTAC 511 design. And he didn't really say, he's just a beater, just do whatever I want to with it. Looking at it, it doesn't look like it's been used that much. So I don't know, have fun with it anyhow, I guess. I'm not sure. I think CJ's was a convex, and this right here feels like it might be a combination of just two different flat grinds. You can see how the nose is defined. And I think I'm gonna probably take that out of it, and I'll probably just make the whole thing flat grind, and maybe bring the grind up to this point or something. I don't know. We'll see how it goes when I start working on it. I don't really know. I'm not good enough to be able to draw the design out on the knife and then start grinding it. So who knows, right? Mateo, seriously, thank you, bro. Things like that, like community things like that, that it makes me feel good about being a part of it, man. Like, like it's just fun. So like, you give something, you don't expect something back. And for those guys to turn around and give something back, not that I gave either one of those guys anything, but I've done deals with both those guys in the past. No big deal, but Ken Faulkner did a giveaway a while back. I contributed a little bit to the giveaway. Well, the guy who won the knife ended up wanting to give back to the guys who gave something. So I ended up getting a strop and some stropping compound from the guy who won his giveaway, which, I mean, how cool is that, man? That's awesome. So thanks, both Ken and the dude who won. I can't remember off the top of my head, and I apologize. But seriously, thank you for both those guys. So the knife that I got in another knife, but I've owned one before, and I'm going to kind of go through a little bit of something with it. I don't know. I just got to express myself, I guess, a little bit. So, all right. If you're unfamiliar with this design, this is Alphahunter Tactical, which is Chad. I don't know what Chad's last name. I can't remember. Detaliente or something like that, maybe. I don't know. Something along them lines. I can't. Here, I'll just show you the card. How about that? That's the dude. Okay. So this is a limited edition, 1 of 10. And this is not. I had another one of these in the past. This is not the same one. So to kind of go back, and the people who don't know and the people who do, just kind of, I don't know, give me some leeway here for a second. So Chad doesn't make knives. He got the knife made, okay? Um, and by all rights, really cool design knife. Got a copper scale on it with like kind of a radial frag pattern, if you will. Um, and I'll be honest, I gave the first one away. I didn't even trade it. I gave it away. Why did I give it away? Well, Chad doesn't make the knives. Hoback does. And so when the Hoback thing went down a couple years back, I was like, I didn't want nothing to do with anything from Hoback. I was like, I just gonna get rid of it all. And I could be wrong on this. And if I am, if you know otherwise, let me know. But I'm pretty sure, without, because both those guys went kind of like radio silent when all the shit hit the fan a few years back, a couple years back, whatever that was. And I was just done with both of them at that point. And I was like, I'm just gonna get rid of the stuff that I didn't want, because this was kind of sort of, and I don't know if Chad did it or Hoback did it, or it was just an understanding along the community that all these were American made. At the time, everybody thought all these were American made, and I don't know if this is or isn't American made. To be honest with you, it's a 1 in 10. Does that mean that he sent it over to China? That Hoback designed it, sent it over to China, got them to make it because he couldn't or wouldn't, and then imported it, and then they sold it for 5 times the price? I don't know. I have no clue on how to do it or how to go about finding that information out. If one of you guys know, let me know. So that last one, it just kind of rubbed me wrong. And I was like, you know what? Cole had this knife. So Cole's the guy I bought those 2 sawtooths, that DLC sawtooths a while back that, I can't remember who got both of them. Anyway, the ones that I worked on a while back, I know Snow's got one, and I can't remember who else got the other one. Forgive me, I can't remember. Maybe Steve, I can't remember. Anyway, same dude. So once again, easy to deal with. Cole, super nice guy, super cool guy. I had even mentioned this on another video that he had it for sale for a while back. I also mentioned that me and him tried to work out a deal for it then. We just couldn't come to an agreement. Well, the agreement now came way in my favor. So thanks again, Cole. Totally appreciate it, man. And that's the only reason I really got it. It's because it was the right price. Will I keep it or will I not? I don't know. Like, I can already tell you right now that I'm going to let Jose check it out. I'm going to let Sean check it out. And I think Will said he wanted to check it out. So those 3 guys want to check it out. But I pretty much already know a dude that wants it and has been wanting one since I had my old one. So I'm probably going to trade it, honestly. But I don't know. It just depends. It's still a cool knife. I really dig the knife at all. Overall, like, really good, design and feel in the hand. It's pretty much finger flick only for me. I guess you can sort of slow roll it with a thumb. If you're good at Praetorians where you can kind of slide in that groove and kind of work it, you could probably work this one the same way. But for me, it's pretty much just finger flick for the true feel of the action anyhow. So let's stop, and I'm going to do the heads down, and let's blow this thing apart. Let's take some measurements. Let's try to determine if the thing is metric or if it's standard. Now, I ain't saying that China can't make something in standard, and I ain't saying that somebody here couldn't make it in metric. But more than likely, if Hoback make it, it's going to be standard. And more than likely, if China make it, it's going to be metric. So we're just going to pull a few things apart, do a few measurements, talk about a few things as we kind of uncover them and see them and that sort of thing. I'll give you my thoughts and feelings on it, and y'all can give me any feedback y'all have or y'all's thoughts and feelings towards the end. Okay? All right, we back on this. Now, I haven't even tried to break anything free, so I don't know if it's Loctite or not. I did try to see if it would fit. Everything on this seems to be T8, and these are everybody talks about what drivers they use. As a machinist, I've got like 2 sets of these, maybe 3 sets of these that we've used for like changing inserts and that sort of thing. But this is a T8, all T8 construction. So I'm going to pull it apart the first time right here in video, and then we'll see what happens. And it seems like it might have a free. No, it's coming. Okay, never mind. It's moving. Forgive me if this isn't like the best video quality kind of thing. Yeah, free spinning back here too. I may have to grab another T8. All right, let me stop this, grab a T8. Coming back a second. All right, I'm back. I had to break these kind of off camera. I had to hold it on both sides and break them free. So I still haven't pulled it apart yet. So let's just go ahead and do that real quick. Well, actually, since we're sitting here, let's just spin around the knife and see like all this, all the angles, all that stuff looks nice and good. Like you don't see any flaws really in anything. Clip's kind of plain Jane, but you don't see any flaws. You see how it's rounded in this corner. It's just cut differently. I don't know if there's a lock bar. I'm assuming there's a lock bar insert, but this doesn't have the Hoback rolling detent, so may or may not be something that we'll discover is or isn't Hoback. I don't know. Let's pull the scale off, see what this looks like on the inside. So what threads are those? I don't know yet. I'll have to figure that out in a second. It is unusual that the pivot's a T8, like everything on this is a T8, which I'm not complaining. That's all the same, so that's kind of cool, but at the same time, you don't see too many T8 pivots. Oh, the whole pivot came out. I guess it's designed to take from the lock side, but whatever. Who cares? Did I already mention this is a 1 in 10? This is number 1 of 10. So bearings come out. So there it goes. M390 1 of 10. And there's the Alphahunter logo on that side. So looking at the blade, you can see like this groove is blasted. I mean, they did a good job on the finishing. This is kind of like a brushed finish. I'm assuming it's hand done. Stop pin pressed in down here. This is not moving. That's pressed in. Looking at the bearing erases, or what would be the bearing erases, you can see that the finish looks good. You don't see any chatter or any tool marks in the bottom of that. Let me clean it up real good for a second. And let's look at it a little closer and see if there's anything. Because that's kind of one of those signs too. So you can see a little bit of tooling mark in the bottom, very, very little, but it's super polished. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Extremely polished, extremely well finished. Kind of both sides, the pocket looks the same. Looking at the chamfers on the sides of this edge and this edge, you see the edge termination is pretty dang close to the same on both sides. Inside these grooves is nice and blasted. It's got like a little bit of a brush on the outside of these finishes. Hope y'all able to see this in camera and it makes sense. So for finish wise, like just the finish wise, this is pretty top notch. You really can't fault it. Plunge line, looking at all that stuff, like it looks pretty spot on. Like that's pretty dang close. You see how parallel this line is to the grind and to the ball groove as well. Both sides, like it's pretty spot on, right? You don't see anything through it. All right, so the thing I want to do first, since I got the blade in my hand, we're going to measure the diameter of what the hole is, measure the pocket diameter, and measure the depth. This is just to kind of give me a baseline of what's going on right here. So these are some old janky ass calipers, so yes, they're beat up. These are Matoyos, these are machinist calipers, but they haven't been calibrated in who the hell knows how long. So I'm just going to take a basic measurement. The reason I'm using these is because they're digital and hope you guys can see the measurements as well. So I'm trying to hold it where you guys can see it. So 250 and 5, which means that's a 1/4 inch pivot. It's 5/10 oversized, which is pretty typical from our standard American point of view. Pocket size, like a 545 and 5. That's also like like it's not a 1/2 inch tool doing that. It's something coming in here interpolating it, but they could have done that with a 1/2 inch end mill coming in interpolated in, but I doubt it's a spot face type thing. It could be, but I don't know. The actual bearing size itself, these look like what they call this, they're ceramic bearings, but it looks like they got that plastic cage on them. They look pretty nasty too, like they need to be cleaned up. But just for shats and gaggles, let's go ahead and do this. So 535, so you can see there, get 10 thou clearance. That's a pretty good fit for a bearing pocket. If you ever measure bearing pockets, they're usually not that tight. Interestingly enough, the ID on this is 328, which is kind of weird. Why would you have that big of an ID? It lets the bearing kind of float around in that pocket, but I guess the OD is holding it instead of the ID. But it's still, it's a different style bearing that I'm used to seeing. So what I'm trying to get at is, you can see that you got a lot of room for the pivot to come through here. So the pivot itself isn't riding on that bearing at all. Not even like the race isn't doing it. The outside's holding it, not the inside, which is kind of different. You don't usually see that. So interesting note there. But I'm getting American vibes, to be honest with you. So I hope it is. Like, you can see the process. If you look at something like this, you can kind of see the process of, it was all bead blasted first, then it was hand finished, and probably ground and then hand finished, either way. But if that was done by hand, if that was all done by hand, that's a pretty dang good eye for that. So I don't know. I don't know. Undecided still. So at least we're not coming in here and seeing metric stuff pop at us, right? So now we're going to look basically at the frame of this knife. Obviously, it's the same bearing on the other side. I have to check the threads. I don't really have anything to check it with right here. We'll do that in here in a minute. But here's they got an insert in this and in this, so the washer on the inside. That's not really typical of American made builds. Like, you don't really see that, at least for these style knives. I don't know if you guys would agree or disagree, but you don't usually see that. Like, basically it's a washer to keep it from, you know, impenetrating softer material, which is a smart idea, but like, you just don't usually see that. Both the finish on both of those, they have a bearing track in them, but the race itself is a new, nice finish. Looks like a good polish before it was actually inserted. Obviously the relief is on the inside of this, and this is the back spacer, and it's got standoffs. And what I typically don't like about these standoffs, yeah, this is going to be, when you see standoffs like this, almost always it's Chinese. Like, I don't know of any American company that does these little standoffs like this. It's a good design for strength, but I just don't know of any American companies doing that. Do you guys know? I mean, I'm at this point, I don't know what the threads are once again, but let's just take a measurement to see what the OD of these are. So 156.5, so 5/32. Is that right? Pretty sure. But it's not lining up to, I'm just going to switch it to metric real quick. So it's like not quite 4 millimeters if you do a metric. So I don't think that's, it could be, but I don't know. We'll have to, I'm going to do some more investigation here in a minute with the threads. But the telltale sign on this is going to be if these are metric threads or standard threads. And once again, you could be made here and still have those other threads on them for sure, but doubtful, put it that way. I'm doubtful about that. So looking at the machining on this, you don't see any tooling marks. And what I mean mainly in tooling marks is if you look inside this groove, if someone cut this manually on a Bridgeport, they can use a rotary table and it's going to cut and leave a different pattern. And if you look at the way this pattern is, when it stops, when it terminates here, it's kind of more almost, it's a radius here, but it's a bigger radius. So a tool is coming in here and turning this corner and then coming back around this way. So it's not one tool plunging in and cutting this groove, and you're not stepping out and stepping back in. Otherwise you'd have a nice radius on this. This is more flat on this edge. This, you probably see it better on this one. Can you see that? You see how there's no tooling marks on it at all? And I'm not saying you couldn't take this, because both of these have been blasted. It's pretty obvious if you look at them, they've been blasted. I ain't saying you could take the tooling marks out, or couldn't take the tool marks out and then blast it and make it look like this. But this is typical of what the Japanese or the Chinese do for the finishing. They try to take every single tool mark out. The other place you can kind of look is right here in this relief cut. You can almost, every knife you ever have, look at them all, you can almost see some kind of something in these reliefs, right? I always see some kind of chatter or something to take all that out and then sandblast it and not see any deviation. So you see how crisp those lines look in there? You see how crisp that looks? You're not seeing anything different in here. Like, that's pretty much telltale to me. I'm just gonna guess this is Chinese now. The way this is cut, it doesn't look like it's EDM'd. It could be EDM. Actually, now that I say that, if you look in this groove right here, if you can see in this groove, I don't know if you can or not, it does look like it has a little bit of that chattery mark, like it could be EDM'd. So it's possibly EDM'd. The over travel stop is milled in here. It's a regular detent. It's not a Hoback rolling detent, which that may or may need anything. I know that most of the rolling detects that I've looked at from Hoback are all been metric thread, so pretty much shows you right there that he's been using metric stuff even on his own stuff. So hard call still. Let's check some threads and see what we come up with. All right, so first of all, like those of you having bad eyes like me, these little optical things, a lot of machinists use them. I had to buy one recently because of knife grinding and seeing. Highly recommend one of these. I don't know what the hell they call, but little head visor. This only works for like 10 inches away from your face, but you can see so much better. Highly recommend these for the blind guys like me that can't read nothing. All right, so in messing around in the shop there, I found a die and a tap, M3 down 0.5, and it sure as hell goes in there and threads in no problem. Both the pivots and the standoffs are exactly the same thread pitch. So M3 0.5 on both of those. So metric threads, metric hardware. What do we think? It still could be anybody's call, because you could use metric stuff. You could get these supplied, use the hardware, do all this stuff yourself. What's my thoughts on this as a whole? Is a great knife. I could be blissfully ignorant, put it back together, keep it in my collection, and hope it's American made. But in reality, after looking at it, looking at some of the parts in it, the finishes on it, how how it's done, the grinds, and how the grinds are so symmetrical and stuff like that. Like they use some American standard parts or features on it, so it's a little conflicting, and you could go either way. But I hate to say this, but the level of attention that you get from a Chinese knife is better than most American manufacturing. It just is what it is, right? I hate to admit it, as a machinist, I can see the differences between the two. Now, high-end American stuff, like even CRK, like even some of their stuff, this one's been modified, but this is a precision knife for sure, but not on the same. I mean, granted, this knife's been modified and it's got stuff all over it. And it's finished very well, extremely well for an American-made knife, right? But you can still kind of see some little stuff here and there on these, like not this is not a factory knife, so please don't judge it the same way. But if you look at these close enough, you can find little things. I can't find anything on this that I would stick out as a tool mark or something that wasn't left, you know. And I'm not saying Chris Reeve's a bad knife either. Don't misquote me on what I'm trying to say here. I'm just saying, like, if you look close enough, most Chinese knives are like this, damn near flawless, because you got 10 people coming behind the first person to make sure that what they did was right and check his stuff. So I'm guessing this is Chinese. That's just my thoughts on it. So I'm gonna put it back together. We'll go up, finish the video. All right, so finishing it up, Alphahunter Tactical Apocalypse. This is the name of the knife. I'm 1 in 10. I'm gonna give this, for me, at least an 80% Chinese made feel for it. A 20% chance that Hoback could have had the parts made in China and then put his touches on them. That's probably more likely that that's what had happened. But for this to be American made, all the way true and true, I highly, highly doubtful. So that's the way I look at knives, how I break them down, and I make the choices. And I could have measured a lot more things, and I could have showed you guys more stuff that I did measure to kind of sort of reemphasize my thoughts on this knife in particular. But if I was guessing at this point, I'm guessing Chinese manufactured, possibly Hoback customized, possibly Hoback assembled, but at best, I would say. So I guess I'm a little disappointed. I don't know if I did this on the last time when I had this knife last time before I got rid of it or not. I can't remember. Kind of why I'm putting it in video now. But that's my breakdown of the knife. Now, if I would have never heard that and just picked the knife up and played with it and all that stuff, I probably could have enjoyed it the way it was. After having seen that and made my own choices with that, this is definitely going to go. But it'd be right away, I don't know. I might keep it for a while, play with it for a while. If a good trade doesn't work out, then maybe I'll hold it till a good trade comes around or whatever else. But I'm 99% sure that this is probably going to be gone. So that's it in a nutshell. I hope this one was a little interesting, at least how I view breaking down a knife, whether it's American or Chinese. I never really did this, honestly, before in the past. I never really kind of criticized knives for what they're manufactured. I just kind of enjoyed them as knives. And I guess I could for that one, too. And I don't know why I have such a hang up on Chinese stuff, because I thought about this the other day. We built this shipping container back over here. Made an office out of it. My wife said she's going to order furniture. I'm like, all right, go ahead. I was going to make some. She said, you want to order something? That's fine. Whatever. It'll be less time for me to make it. Anyhow, so no qualms with that. Every piece of furniture that you put in there, I mean, every single thing on it, made in China, made in China, made in China, made in China, made in China. You really can't get away from it. And to say this is an inferior product would be a lie. Like, this is definitely a high level fit and finish, which is probably why I think it's more Chinese than I think it's American, because I don't know how much these cost new. Cole, if you see this, man, if you remember how much you paid for it new, let me know. Cole said he was the first owner of this one. The last one I traded for, so the last one I got, another buddy of mine, Rocky, wanted a sawtooth or something, and then maybe some money on top or something, and we ended up working out a deal. It's been years back now at this point, but I think this is the 2019 or 2020. I can't remember what that card said. You guys read it, so I think it's 2020 actually, and I think I got the last one. I want to say not long after Rocky had it. I want to say like maybe October, November, and I think they just got it released in September or something. So it wasn't long, and he sent it my way. So he didn't have it long when I had it, maybe a year or so, and then I got rid of it. Definitely a cool knife. Definitely one worth checking out, and I want to send it to my bros that want to see it, but I don't think it's a keeper for me, which is kind of a shame too, that I can't get over shit like that, and maybe I will one day. I don't think this design's going to do it enough for me that I'm going to like, I have to have this knife kind of thing. So right, that's it in a nutshell. For the guys who sent the knives in, thank you so much. For the other guys that are considering sending knives in, I'm more than willing to do best I can. I can't guarantee I'm going to do a good job in a regrind, but I'm looking to do more regrinds at this point with the time I have. Obviously, these two projects will probably take the rest of the day, if not more than that, to do those. I hope to have something to show you guys next week. But I think I'm getting better. I think I'm improving. And it's step-by-step process. I'm honestly really excited about the grinding part of it, more so even than the mill, because the mill's still not running. I don't even care right now. Like, I'm just got to save some money up so I can call somebody to fix it, like, or maybe even ship it off to get it fixed. I'm super excited about learning that grinding stuff. It's been a whole lot of fun for me, and I'm learning every time I get on it. So I know I ramble. I apologize if y'all don't want to hear me ramble, but it's kind of sort of what this channel has always been about, or at least probably since the Hoback thing, anyhow. Which is kind of sad that that's one of my most popular. I think it is my most popular video. Some bad shit. So hopefully this one won't get the same kind of vibe, and hopefully you don't get that it's a negative video. It's just more of like, I kind of wanted to show you what goes through my head as I view a knife and that sort of thing. So maybe you learned something, maybe you didn't, maybe you think I'm an asshole. I don't know. Could be all of it. Y'all be cool. Have a great week. See you guys next week. Later.